But what nationwide injunctions did, in effect, is somebody complains in this court, and then that judge that nobody ever heard of issues a nationwide injunction against that policy being implemented anywhere. This last week, Amy Coney Barrett, Trump's nominee and appointment to the Supreme Court, who has been disappointing of late, at least partially redeemed herself in the case that came up before them about nationwide injunctions. She's the one who wrote the majority opinion. It was a 6-3 opinion, and the Supreme Court shut down the accelerating practice of nationwide injunctions. And what this practice was, which began to take root after the Second World War, in onesie-twosies, but then it really picked up in Trump's first term and then accelerated and picked up again in this term. But sometimes conservative judges have used it as well. What it is that there's an executive order or an action that's taken by the president, and someone with standing appeals their case to a lower federal judge. And that federal judge does have the authority to place an injunction on whether or not that policy affects the person who is complaining in his court. But what nationwide injunctions did, in effect, is somebody complains in this court, and then that judge that nobody ever heard of issues a nationwide injunction against that policy being implemented anywhere. And what that did, in effect, was made these lower judges, in effect, they gave them veto power or the power to stop or stay the implementation of this policy. Now, it still might have that effect long term, but the Supreme Court upheld the right of a lower judge to issue an injunction against that policy applying to the person who is appealing in his court. And that decision could be appealed all the way up to the Supreme Court. And if it went in the plaintiff's direction, then that would have nationwide implications. And that would make some sort of sense. At least you're dealing with the Supreme Court in a showdown with the president, as opposed to a local court in a showdown with the president. The other thing that was interesting about this decision was that I mentioned that Amy Coney Barrett wrote the majority opinion, and she took some pretty direct shots at Justice Jackson. Jackson was the one who famously replied in her nomination hearings that she couldn't answer the question, what is a woman, because she wasn't a biologist. And now that looked like a woke PC dodge, but it might just be the fact that she's not the brightest button in the box. And that is apparently an opinion shared by the other justices, because Barrett wrote the majority opinion and she took some pretty direct shots at Justice Jackson. That is Justice Janet Jackson. No, it's not Janet Jackson, but as the notes show, it might as well have been.